Welcome to my channel. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer. On this channel, we talk about spirituality, we talk about astrology, and in this video, we will be going over the energy of Jupiter and Taurus. Jupiter enters Taurus May 16th, 2023, and will stay in Taurus until May 25th of 2024. So this is a year-long transit, and Jupiter is quite busy in Taurus. We will be getting into all of that energy in this video, and the last portion of this video, the second half of this video, we will be getting into all 12 rising signs. That way you are able to see how this energy is showing up for you more personally. If you align with my energy and enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. So let's get right into it. I want to bring your attention back to 2011 and 2012. This is the last time that Jupiter was in Taurus. And so what showed up for you back then? What were you moving through back in 2011 and 2012? This will really give you an idea of what this Jupiter and Taurus transit is going to be bringing up for you. Now, I want you to keep in mind that we have Uranus in Taurus now, and for the first few months of Jupiter entering Taurus, we will have the North Node still in Taurus. And so we do have a lot more energy and activations happening in Taurus than we did last time, and we will be getting into all of those conjunctions that Jupiter will be making. But keep that in mind when you are looking back to 2011 and 2012 and what you were moving through. This will give you an idea of energy that will be showing up for you again. However, it'll be different because it's Uranus, and we have Uranus in there. And we've had Uranus in Taurus since 2018, which is very interesting. And if you think back to 2018, what changes you've been moving through personally in the Taurus areas. And the other thing I find really interesting is Uranus is known as the Great Awakener. And we've had Uranus in Taurus since 2018. And a lot of people seem to have a spiritual awakening back in 2018. So we will definitely be getting into all of that when I get into the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, because I find that quite fascinating. But I really want to start this off by going over some of the energy with Jupiter and the energy with Taurus. What do they represent? What do they signify? So Jupiter is the planet of expansion, opportunity, abundance, luck, higher knowing, and higher wisdom. And Jupiter also represents our belief systems. Taurus represents our finances, our money, our material possessions, our values, and our attitude towards money, and everything that we truly need to feel safe, secure, comfortable. And so with this transit, if you look back since February of 2022, when the North Node entered Taurus, we have been moving through a lot of changes when it comes to our financial systems, our money. There's a lot going on with crypto, and I don't know too much about all that, but I get into it a little bit just to see what's going on. But there's a lot of changes happening with our financial systems, which is going to be amplified when Jupiter enters Taurus over this next year. There's going to be a lot of changes with our financial systems, with our money, even our housing. Taurus represents housing and food supply. So this is going to be a year of a lot of changes around all of those things that we really truly need to feel safe, secure, comfortable, our housing, our food, our money, our financial systems, and even our attitude towards these things. Maybe our values and our belief systems around material possessions and money will be shifted a little bit during this transit. Now, Jupiter has been in Aries in and out over the last year. Jupiter's been in Aries, and Aries energy is all about initiating and really getting things moving and going. And so when Jupiter enters Taurus, it's really about grounding that energy in. Whatever you've been getting started, whatever you have initiated through this Jupiter and Aries energy, now is the time to really ground that energy in, really get things solid. Taurus is very practical. Taurus is also about securing and stabilizing energy, things, people, whatever it is, however this energy is showing up for you. So think of over the last year, what have you really been getting moving, getting going, and initiating while Jupiter has been in Aries? Now is the time to really ground that in. Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus is very grounding. And so we have the energy there to support us to really start developing long lasting adventures or aspirations, whatever it is that we are driven to do at this time. Now let's get into some of this energy that we will be going through while Jupiter is in Taurus. So let's go over some of these transits. May 16th, as soon as Jupiter enters Taurus, Jupiter is going to form a square to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Now, Pluto, it represents fears. Pluto is very psychological. Pluto represents the subconscious. And Pluto also brings what is hidden to light. And so with Jupiter forming this square, individually, this is going to be different collectively than it will be individually. Collectively, I believe this is when a lot that is hidden will come to light when it comes to certain things. However, individually, this can be subconscious fears coming out. There's something showing up here that requires your attention, that really requires your awareness, that you need to work with and work through and let go of and release in order to move forward in these next steps of your journey. On May 20th, Mars is going to enter Leo at that 0-degree point, forming a T-square. So now we will have a conversation between Jupiter, Mars, and Pluto retrograde, all at the 0-degree point. This is going to be really dynamic, and it's going to show up differently for all of us. Collectively, this can be very explosive. I don't want to ever push fear or act like anything is going to be scary, but I think awareness is the best thing to really bring and have when it comes to these energies. And so with everything that's going on in the world, this is where certain things can happen that can be quite dynamic. It may even be sudden. It's Mars, right? Mars is very action oriented. Mars can be very quick. And so this can be something, this can also amplify something that is hidden to light. Like, this is definitely a time period that we want to be aware of. And so from May 16th to about May 25th, we will be moving through this energy. Around May 20th is when it's going to be really amplified and really intense, because that's when that T-square will be really tight and exact. So individually, this can really bring up something that needs to be released. This can be old fears, old traumas. This can be something psychological. This can be even something from childhood. This can be something that is subconscious, something you didn't even know or that you weren't even aware of, that you still had energy stuck within, or emotions that really needs to be released and let go of, that can be holding you back in some way that you just weren't even aware of. So this is the time period where we do definitely want to be aware of, because it can be tricky energy to work with. Now, May 30th, Jupiter conjuncts the North Node at 3 degrees. And so this is really bringing in lovely energy. Whatever you've been moving through since February of 2022, since the North Node entered Taurus, Jupiter is now bringing in new energy, opportunity, abundance, luck, optimism for this North Node Taurus journey. So this is great energy to really work with. So when Jupiter first enters Taurus, we have that really, and you want to know the funny thing about this, not funny but interesting, is that as soon as Jupiter enters Taurus and we have this tight T-square, which is really triggering like something subconscious or psychological, and these old fears that we have to release and let go of, it's like as soon as we do that, Jupiter forms this conjunction to the North Node, which is bringing in those blessings and gifts, and is like, okay, now you're ready. Now that you've let go of that, you're finally ready to take these next steps on your journey. The North Node is very karmic and very fated, and represents that energy we are moving into, this energy we gravitate to. So it's a really interesting story and conversation that's showing up. I would love to hear in the comments below how this energy shows up for you, because I find it quite interesting how we have this really tight T-square, which is bringing up that energy. And then once we release it, we have Jupiter form the North Node that is like bringing in blessings for us. So it's quite nice. September 4th, Jupiter is going to station retrograde in Taurus at 15 degrees and will move back to 5 degrees. And so between September 4th and December 30th of 2023, Jupiter will be retrograde. Now, the interesting thing about this Jupiter retrograde is that Jupiter will be retrograding over the same degree points that Mercury retrograded over back in April and May of 2023. So the time that I'm recording this video and posting this video, Mercury is currently retrograde. So the end of May or the end of April, beginning of May of 2023, what showed up for you during that Mercury retrograde period? There's more to the story coming in between September and December of 2023. So this is something you really want to be aware of. If there's anything that was started or that happened during this time, there's more to the story. So it's really interesting how Jupiter is retrograding over those exact same degree points. And this is 5 degrees of Taurus until to 15 degrees of Taurus. So this part of your chart is really being worked with and activated. So again, you really want to know what showed up during that Mercury retrograde period, because there is more to the story. Also pay attention to what shows up for you while Jupiter is moving over those degree points before Jupiter stations retrograde, because whatever you get started or whatever you are moving through, you may have to go back and just sit with. Now, Jupiter retrograde is different than Mercury retrograde. Mercury very much represents our communication, our technology, our mind, where Jupiter is more about insight, higher knowledge, and our belief systems. And so this can really be a time where our beliefs are changing around whatever it is that we are moving through. April 17th, Jupiter is going to form a conjunction to Uranus in Taurus at 21 degrees. And so this is going to take place from April 17th to April 21st, 2024. So just before Jupiter leaves Taurus and enters Gemini, Jupiter is going to form that conjunction to Uranus. This is going to be really significant. Uranus is the planet of awakening. It's known as the Great Awakener, and Jupiter is the planet of expansion. And so if you were going to have some type of spiritual breakthrough, it's going to happen at this time. This could even show up as like a collective awakening of some sort. It's a breakthrough of some kind. So whatever we are moving through collectively and individually, this is going to be a time of massive breakthrough, massive awakening energy. If there's anything that you're moving through at this time, this can be the time where it just falls away. Whatever is hanging by a thread, it just goes, and it can be very sudden. Uranus is very sudden. It can be really spontaneous, sporadic. That's the Uranian energy. And so whatever you're moving through, if there's something that's literally hanging by a thread and the universe is like, this needs to go, it can just be, it falls away, ripped away. That's it. It's done. So we do want to be aware at this time where I think it's very great energy. I believe we will be leaning more towards this huge awakening, but at the same time, it's in Taurus. This can have to do with our finances. This could be like a really sudden sporadic change with our finances, our financial institutions. This could be collectively, whatever we're moving through, a time where we start to see things for what they are. The illusion is lifted. We start to develop maybe new financial means, new ways of living when it comes to our finances, when it comes to our food, when it comes to our housing. This is where things can just fall away and start to be rebuilt. Definitely energy that we want to be conscious of. And I will, of course, talk more about this energy as we approach this time period. So, thank you so much for joining me in this video. Now we will be getting into all 12 rising signs. Keep in mind that if you have any personal planets or points, this energy in Taurus, this energy will be activated. And again, I would love to hear your comments below throughout this year, how this energy is showing up for you, what you have been moving through. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will connect with you in the next one. Now let's get into all 12 rising signs. Aries, you have Jupiter entering your second house of money, finances, material possessions, even your attitude around money. You've had a lot of energy changing in this area. You had the North Node enter your second house February of 2022, which was really bringing your attention to possibly new ways to make money. Now you have Jupiter coming in, bringing insight, bringing opportunity and blessings. And so this can really be a time period where you are developing new ideas on how you want to make money, and your money in general is changing. Jupiter in the second house can really bring in more money for you as well. September 4th to December 30th, when Jupiter stations retrograde, this is a time period where you may be going over what you've already been moving through. And so you can get an idea of maybe more to the story or what is showing up for you if you go back to the end of April, beginning of May of 2023, when Mercury stationed retrograde in your second house. There can be more to this story showing up at this time. So between September and December, whatever you were moving through up until that point, this is a time where maybe you want to sit with what's been going on, what has shown up for you, go over your finances in order to then December 30th, when Jupiter stations direct, this can be a time where now you are moving forward with something. And so this all has to do with your finances, ways to make money, or even your belief systems around money. In April of 2024, when we have that dynamic Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, this can be a time where something really just clicks for you, something really takes off, or if something has been coming to an end that maybe has been a struggle to let go of when it does have to do with your finances, this is a time period where there's a breakthrough. It's either released or there's some type of breakthrough when it comes to how you're making money and your finances. Taurus, Jupiter is entering your first house. So this is the house of you. This is your self, your personality, your character. This can even be your physical body, how you view this reality. So Jupiter entering your first house can really bring in blessings, can bring in new ideas, higher knowledge, and really have you wanting to dive into some type of self-discovery journey. You've had the North Node in your first house since February of 2022. So you may already be going through some type of self-discovery journey, self-development. Jupiter is then going to come in and amplify that for you. Either bring more wisdom or knowledge or new ideas or opportunities when it comes to whatever self-discovery journey that you are on. One thing you really want to be aware of with Jupiter in the first house is Jupiter can sometimes bring too much of everything, right? Too much good, too much bad. So this is a time where you really do want to have that self-awareness with everything going on, right? Because the first house does represent the self. So you really want to have self-awareness during this transit because of the fact that Jupiter can bring too much of everything. Now, when Jupiter stations retrograde September 4th to December 30th of 2023, this is a time where you're going back on something. During the Mercury retrograde period, end of April, beginning of May of 2023, something may have been brought up to your awareness or stopped or come up when it does have to do with the self, with you. So Jupiter is bringing more to the story. This is a time where you may want to sit with more that has shown up for you during this time period. And so this entire transit for you really is going to have you wanting to dive into yourself, self-healing, self-discovery. When Jupiter forms that conjunction to Uranus in April of 2024, this can really be a huge awakening for you when it has to do with your soul's journey and who you are. Gemini, you have Jupiter entering your 12th house. So the 12th house represents endings, self-undoing, isolation. The 12th house is also very spiritual and very karmic. You've had the North Node moving through your 12th house since February of 2022. So this may have been a time period where you have been diving more into your spirituality, maybe wanting to be more alone, maybe isolating yourself. Jupiter is then going to enter your 12th house, which can amplify all of that energy. This can really be a time where you are focusing more on your spirituality and isolation. Healthy isolation, though. We want to make sure that we are keeping a healthy balance during this transit. So don't completely isolate yourself away from the world, but take that healthy time for you. Dive into your soul's journey. The 12th house is very spiritual, very karmic. This can be a time where you are really diving into what your soul truly wants and needs in this lifetime. September 4th to December 30th of 2023, Jupiter will be retrograding in your 12th house. So this can be a time where you are now sitting with the information, the energy that you have accumulated throughout this time from May to September. Also, Mercury was retrograde at the end of April, beginning of May 2023, in this exact same spot in your chart. So if anything showed up for you during that time, end of April, beginning of May, when it has to do with your spirituality or anything that you've been moving through around isolation or even self-undoing, there's more to this story coming up. So this is a time where you do really want to be careful of self-undoing. This is also a time where things may be coming to an end, whatever you are moving through at this time. In April of 2024, when Jupiter has that conjunction to Uranus, this can be a massive awakening for you. Cancer, you have Jupiter entering your 11th house. Your 11th house represents friends, friendships, social groups, humanitarian pursuits, and your hopes and dreams. So Jupiter is really bringing in new, fresh energy around all of these themes and topics for you. Now, you've had the North Node in your 11th house since February of 2022, already shifting and changing energy for you, bringing your focus more to maybe even what you're putting online, because the 11th house also represents online connections. So if there is something that you've been working with or moving through when it has to do with getting something started, moving in the direction of something online, developing connections online, or with your friendships or humanitarian pursuits, Jupiter is now coming in, amplifying that energy for you, bringing gifts, bringing blessings and opportunity. On September 4th to December 30th of 2023, we will have Jupiter retrograde. Jupiter is going to retrograde over this exact same spot that Mercury retrograded in the end of April, beginning of May of 2023. So anything that showed up for you during that time period that really had to do with friendships, social groups, online connections. There's more to the story showing up at this time, the end of 2023, from September to December. This can be also a time where you're sitting with energy anything that did show up for you. So there is a story playing out here when it does have to do with your online connections and friendships. Then we have that great conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus, and this is where things can really take off. There can be massive breakthroughs with your friendships, with your social groups. This can be a time where if something wasn't clicking, it can just fall away, it can just break away. That's it. The universe is going to take it away, or something can truly take off. So you really want to be mindful around this time of what is showing up for you when it does have to do with your online connections and friendships. This is a make or break energy. Leo, you have Jupiter entering your 10th house of work, career, public reputation, and the legacy that you leave behind after your working years. You've had the North Node in your 10th house since February of 2022, so you've already had a lot of focus and new direction when it does come to your work, your career, your public reputation. Jupiter is then going to come in and amplify all that energy, bring opportunity, bring blessings, bring gifts. So this is a time period where your work, your career is really going to be amplified, whether you decide to change your work and career, but there's new energy coming in around the direction you are going when it does have to do with your work, your career, and your public reputation. September 4th to December 30th of 2023 is when Jupiter stations, when Jupiter is retrograde. Jupiter stations retrograde September 4th and remains retrograde until December 30th of 2023. Now, Mercury retrograded over this exact spot in your chart the end of April, beginning of May of 2023. So whatever showed up during that time period around your career, your public reputation, there's more to the story coming in. Jupiter is bringing new ideas, bringing new energy around your work, around your career. And while Jupiter is retrograde, this could be a time where you are sitting with energy, maybe deciding the direction that you really want to take with your work and career. And once Jupiter stations direct, things will start to make sense. There's new energy where you just kind of know something clicks around the direction that you want to take when it has to do with your work and career and your public reputation. In April of 2024, we have that great conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. This is where there's breakthroughs. Something just clicks or falls away. Whatever is hanging by a thread, the universe can just pull it away. That's it. Enough. It's gone. Or there's something coming in that you finally just know and understand the direction that you want to take when it has to do with your career. So Jupiter in the 10th house is really bringing in blessings and new energy in the direction that has to do with your work, your career, and your public reputation. Virgo, you have Jupiter entering your 9th house of belief systems, higher knowing, higher knowledge, also adventure and traveling, even higher education. So Virgo, this can really be a time period where Jupiter is coming in and bringing new insight, bringing new energy when it has to do with your belief systems. This could be a time of completely reprogramming your belief systems. This can also be a time where you're doing lots of traveling because the 9th house has to do with travel. And Jupiter really brings in expansion in that area. So this can be a time period where you're doing a lot of traveling or you decide to go back to school. This can also be a time period where you are diving into higher knowledge, higher knowing, really gaining wisdom in these philosophical beliefs. September 4th to December 30th, Jupiter is going to station retrograde. This can be a time period of maybe sitting with everything that you've accumulated. This could be a time period where you're starting to slow down with your traveling. However, Jupiter is retrograding over the same area that Mercury retrograded in at the end of April and beginning of May of 2023. So something showed up at that time. There's more to the story going on. So if you were moving through something around that time that was unclear, or you were trying to get going but something wasn't making sense, this could be a time where Jupiter comes in with new energy, new insight. And while Jupiter is retrograde, you're sitting with it, you're moving through the energy, making sense of everything. And then once Jupiter stations direct, something clicks and makes sense. In April of 2024 is when Jupiter has that dynamic conjunction to Uranus in Taurus. And so this is a time where, especially when it comes to your belief system, something just clicks. Uranus is known as the Great Awakener. And so during this conjunction can be where something happens really sudden. I really don't recommend traveling at this time because something just isn't going to go the way planned. Something's going to happen very spontaneous, very sudden. So as your astrologer, I really suggest not traveling around the April 2024 when we have that great, that really big Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. However, this can really be a time where if you have been diving into philosophical beliefs or really reprogramming your beliefs and higher knowing and getting into all of that stuff where something just clicks and everything just finally makes sense for you. So this is really a time period where Jupiter is bringing your attention, bringing your awareness more to this higher knowing and higher knowing of you, higher knowing of the world, the universe, the collective. So it's really a beautiful energy, Virgo. Libra, you have Jupiter entering your 8th house. The 8th house represents taxes, your partner's finances, inheritance. The 8th house also represents money coming in from outside resources, psychological healing, and trauma. The 8th house can also represent fears. And so you've had the North Node moving through your 8th house since February of 2022, already bringing your focus to these themes and topics in your life. Now Jupiter is coming in, bringing new energy, bringing new awareness and abundance in these areas. So this can really be a time where you receive a lot of money coming in from outside resources. However, this is a time period where you do really want to watch that you don't get into too much debt. A lot of people tend to get into a lot of debt when Jupiter transits through their 8th house. So that is something that you really want to watch for. However, it's also great energy for receiving money that is coming in from outside resources. So if you are trying to get a loan or you need to get a loan for something, you definitely have the energy there to support that with Jupiter in the 8th house. This is also a time where Jupiter may be bringing in gifts and blessings when it has to do with your healing journey, psychological healing, or moving through some type of trauma. September 4th is when Jupiter stations retrograde and will remain retrograde until December 30th of 2023. Mercury stationed retrograde over this exact spot in your chart. So Jupiter is kind of adding to the story a little bit of whatever you were moving through with Mercury. So if something showed up for you the end of April, beginning of May, that was unclear, maybe you were moving through something that you didn't understand or you required more details or new energy, Jupiter is bringing new energy into this area. So there is more to the story playing out between September and December. Now, because Jupiter will be retrograde, this can be a time where maybe you're just sitting with this energy. And then once Jupiter stations direct is when things click and everything makes sense and you now know the direction that you want to go in. In April of 2024 is when Jupiter has that great conjunction to Uranus. And so this is April 21st of 2024, and this is a time where whatever you are moving through, there may be a breakthrough at this time where something just clicks. Also, if there was something that needed to be let go of, the universe may just release it for you. It can just be released, it's gone. And so this is really a breakthrough energy where if there is something that needs to be released and let go of, it will happen. Or this can be a breakthrough of finally knowing and understanding the direction that you need to move in when it has to do with these themes and topics that you will be moving through during this transit. Scorpio, you have Jupiter entering your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, personal connections, business partnerships. And so you've already been moving through some of this energy since February of 2022 when the North Node entered your 7th house in Taurus, which would have really shifted your direction. And because the nodes are very karmic, very fated, this may have really been bringing you towards new people that are very fated and karmic. This may have been bringing you towards new connections. And so Jupiter is entering your 7th house, which can be amplifying all of that energy. This is really a time where you can meet somebody that is karmic, is fated while the North Node is in there. This can also be a time where a lot of your focus is around your personal connections and maybe who is in alignment and who is not in alignment, and new fated karmic people are coming into your life. On September 4th, we will have Jupiter station retrograde until December 30th of 2023. Now, we had Mercury station retrograde over this exact same part of your chart, the end of April, beginning of May 2023. And so if there was something around relationships that was brought to the forefront at that time that maybe didn't make sense, maybe something was unclear, Jupiter is bringing new, fresh energy in, more to that story that can hopefully bring more clarity around your relationships and partnerships. Now, while Jupiter is retrograde, this can be energy that you may be just sitting with. And then once Jupiter stations direct, things will click, something will make sense, and you then know the direction that you need to take when it has to do with your relationships and partnerships. In April of 2024, we have Jupiter forming a conjunction to Uranus. So this can really be some type of sudden change when it has to do with your relationships. This can be where if you're in a rocky relationship, it just comes to an end, something clicks, you just finally know it's done, and you release it and you let it go. Or it can bring something in, that's not something, but someone in that is in alignment with you, that is very sudden, very out of the blue, and very unexpected. And so it really depends on the energy that you are moving through at the time. But either way, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is really bringing in something sudden and unexpected when it has to do with your relationships and your partnerships. Sagittarius, you have Jupiter entering your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. This can also represent your nutrition habits, your health habits, your daily habits. And so you've had a lot of focus already or new energy around these areas because you had the North Node enter your 6th house, February of 2022, which brought in new energy, new direction around your health, your daily routine, your work, your nutrition. And so now Jupiter is coming in, adding to that energy, bringing in new energy, new ideas on what you want to do, how you want to change your habits, your nutrition, your daily routine. And so there is going to be a lot of focus around these areas. Now, September 4th, Jupiter stations retrograde and will stay retrograde until December 30th of 2023. Now, Mercury stationed retrograde and retrograded over this exact spot the end of April and beginning of May of 2023. So if something came up at that time that was unclear around your health, your nutrition, your habits, or your work, this is a time where you may receive clarity. There's more to that story coming in between September and December. So while Jupiter is retrograde, this could be a time where you're just sitting with the energy, you're sitting with whatever is coming in for you. And then once Jupiter stations direct, there will be more clarity on the direction that you really want to take when it does have to do with your health and your nutrition habits or daily routine or work. Now, in April of 2024, Jupiter is going to form that conjunction to Uranus, which is going to be quite dynamic. So when it has to do with your health, your nutrition, your habits, your work, whatever you're moving through at that time, this can be a time where something just either clicks or breaks away. This is a breakthrough energy. So whatever you're moving through, this can be a time where something just falls away and is released, or something just changes really suddenly, completely just out of the blue. Uranus is very sudden. So you do want to be mindful at this time what is showing up for you, because this energy can bring in very sudden change when it does have to do with those themes and topics. Capricorn, you have Jupiter entering your 5th house of creativity, children, fun, passion. The 5th house really represents what you truly love, want, and desire and love doing. And so you've had the North Node in your 5th house since February of 2022, bringing your focus more to maybe children, having children, or your children, or what you're truly passionate about. Maybe even diving into your creativity, starting new ventures when it has to do with your creative side. So this can be a time where you really want to start more creative ventures. Maybe you want to have children. Jupiter in the 5th house can definitely bring children. So that is something that you might want to be mindful of if you don't want children. But if you do want children, you definitely have the energy there to support it. This is also the time where you may want to develop more creative products or creations, or find new passions. Now, September 4th, Jupiter stations retrograde and will remain retrograde until December 30th of 2023. And so Mercury retrograded over this exact same spot end of April, beginning of May of 2023. So if something showed up for you around that time that really had to do with these themes and topics, maybe your children, your creativity, or your passions, that was unclear or required more details, this can be a time where there's more to that story. This can be a time where Jupiter is bringing in fresh energy, 2023. Now, while Jupiter is retrograde, you may be sitting with it, deciding what feels right for you. And then once Jupiter stations direct December 30th of 2023, this is when something can click and you finally know the direction that you want to move in. In April of 2024, we have that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So this is a time where something very sudden can happen. Something may click or something, it's very sudden. And so when it has to do with your children, this could be a time where you find out you're pregnant. So you really do want to be mindful around this time, because this conjunction can bring in something very unexpected, something very sudden. This can also be a time where if you have started something that has to do with some creative venture, it finally takes off. So you definitely want to be mindful at that time, April of 2024, when it does have to do with these themes and topics. Aquarius, you have Jupiter entering your 4th house of home, family, property, real estate. So you've had the North Node in your 4th house since February of 2022. So you've already had your awareness, maybe things coming up, changing your home, changing your family in some way. Now you have Jupiter coming in, bringing more energy, bringing fresh energy. This can be a time where you decide to move or renovate your home. This can also be a time where you expand your family. So September 4th, Jupiter stations retrograde and will stay retrograde until December 30th of 2023. So this is actually, if you look back at the end of April, beginning of May, Mercury stationed retrograde at this exact same spot in your chart. So if something came up around the end of April, beginning of May 2023, that had to do with your home and family or your property or real estate, there's more to the story playing out. Jupiter is going to station retrograde now, where Jupiter is bringing in new energy around these themes and topics. While Jupiter is retrograde, this can be a time where you're just sitting with the energy, and then when Jupiter stations direct is when things become more clear. You then know the direction that you want to go in. In April of 2024, we have that conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. So this is where something very sudden can happen or change when it has to do with your home and family. So you do want to be mindful at this time, because Uranus and Jupiter can bring in, this conjunction can bring in, sudden change, maybe expansion to the home. So this is a time period where you do want to be mindful when it comes to these themes and topics. Pisces, you have Jupiter entering your 3rd house of your local community, your neighbors, your vehicles, even your siblings, your cousins, some of your extended family. And so you've had the North Node moving through your 3rd house since February of 2022, really bringing your focus to these themes and topics. So now Jupiter is coming in, bringing fresh energy, bringing new energy, and this can really maybe have you wanting to get back into your local community, or this could even be a time where you purchase a vehicle or something changes when it has to do with your vehicle, your car, or even local travel. Now, September 4th, Jupiter stations retrograde and will remain retrograde until December 30th, 2023. Back at the end of April, beginning of May, we had Mercury retrograde over this exact same spot in your chart in the 3rd house. So if something came up for you around that time, maybe that had to do with your vehicle or your neighbors or community or siblings or cousins that was unclear, maybe required more detail, there's more to that story coming in between September and December of 2023. Now, while Jupiter is retrograde, this can be a time period of just really sitting with that energy. And then when Jupiter stations direct, you finally have clarity and you know the direction that you want to move in. And so this can have to do with maybe purchasing a new vehicle or having to going back out into your local community, or if there's something showing up that has to do with your neighbors, your siblings, or your cousins. Now, April of 2024, we have that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. This can really bring in sudden change. This is a time period period where you really want to be mindful, especially when it has to do with these themes and topics, because Uranus is very sudden, can be very chaotic and disruptive, and Jupiter expands that energy. And so this is a time period where you do want to have that awareness. You want to be mindful, especially when it does have to do with your vehicles, local travel, or anything that you are moving through at that time that has to do with your neighbors, your community, your siblings, or your cousins.